what I want to finish with is really just sort of, what's all this, what's the benefit of all of this, and how can you take it away? So I think there are 3 benefits of thinking about your network in this way. The first one is really encapsulated in these. These are a fantastic tool for asking. Sheryl Sandberg said that asking isn't a sign of weakness, it's often the first step towards finding the right path forward. And I think we often there's something about asking at work which isn't very cool. We're not really supposed to do it, because if we ask, we don't know. But empowered by the very specific nature of this, you can actually have conversations that are a lot more credible and a lot more considered. Because if you go to someone and say, you understand that you want them to be a customer voice, you may not say, will you be a customer voice in my personal boardroom? But you might say, you've got a really good insight into this area of the market that I really want to understand it better and how our product's perceived. So could we have a coffee and can we sit down and talk that through? And if you acknowledge the other person's expertise and also put some sort of boundaries around what they're being asked to do, generally you get a very good response, because fundamentally people want to help. They just don't want to be asked to do the kind of question, the kind of thing like, will you be my mentor? In a really sort of unbounded, unfocused, unspecific kind of a way. This is also a really good way to think about how you can help the people around you, because if you are a mentor or if you're a line manager, you probably, if you're amazing, you'll be able to do all of these 12 things. But the likelihood is there are 2 or 3 things here that you are really good at, and that's a language that you speak. So you might be really good at giving feedback, or you might have a fantastic expertise that everyone knows you for, or you might have been in the organization for a long time, so you can be a great navigator. But perhaps you're simply not an inspirer. And so to recognize that and to play to your strengths is really helpful. So these are, the first thing you can take away from here is this set of cards and the idea that this is a tool for asking and for giving. Second thing is that this works really well when applied to something very specific. So that could be a job-related challenge that you're facing, something that your team is struggling with, something you've been charged with doing, a project that you need to get off the ground. Or it could be something career-related, like seeking a promotion, or thinking about what your next move in the organization should be, or outside. And when you think of a very specific challenge, then you can start to think, which of the roles in here most relate to my challenge? If I'm seeking a promotion, then I probably do need to think about who's going to be a sponsor, and maybe I need a navigator to understand how the promotion process works and who's going to make the decisions and what criteria they're going to use to make the decisions. So you can break down the challenge in a very practical way using these. And what we do when we run workshops with people is we do that. So we'll get you to define something you want to apply this to, and then start thinking about which roles would be most applicable. And then when you've identified the roles, you can start thinking, okay, so who might fill those roles for me, and where are my gaps? The final thing that we're offering you to go away with, and something which is absolutely fundamental to the way that we work, is that we've developed a way of helping people think about whether they've got the right composition in their personal boardroom. Because as I said at the beginning, a really good network has certain characteristics, and what we've learnt from the research is that a good network has a variety of people playing different roles that you can draw on. They come from different parts of the organization. A high performer has a balance of senior and junior people. They have a balance of people from nearby who are convenient to, easy to have lunch with, but also some people who are further afield. So they kind of, geographically, they're not all just closed in. They also have people outside the organization as well as within, and that's really important for getting a diversity of perspectives, and for especially giving the kind of customer perspective and the inspirers, but also challenges and improvers outside the organization as well as inside. So we encourage people to think about their personal boardroom in a really broad way. Let me first of all just tell you some of the insights that this has been able to open up for people. So when working with executives we mainly work with people in large companies. And working with one executive in a high-tech company that's got very lovely facilities in central London, he was quite shocked, I think, when he looked at his personal boardroom report and realised that every single person was inside his organisation, because his job was marketing, and he realised that he had lost the outside perspective. So he lost touch with the kind of businesses he was trying to reach out to market to. And part of that was a consequence of being in an organisation with lovely offices where everyone wanted to come in and have lunch with him. So he just didn't have any reason for getting outside the building. So he had what we call an inside boardroom, where he was just made quite aware of how introspective he'd got. And working with him, we were able to kind of encourage him to build out some connections outside in a very purposeful way. So this is not about just random networking. This was about thinking, what do I need to achieve as a marketeer? What kind of people are going to help me with that? And then how can I find those people and what roles do I want them to play? Another situation that our online tool often reveals, and I shouldn't tell you this because when you go on, you're going to be already aware and thinking about this. But we often find that people have what we call a bingo boss. So there's one person whose name appears on every single one of these cards. And as I said before, if you're an amazing boss, maybe you can tick all these boxes for people. But for the most part, we're not all gifted in that respect. So sometimes it can be unrealistic to expect your boss to do everything. And thinking about this in a broader sense, at the very least, thinking who else can I put in each of these roles? So I've got a bit of succession planning going on, just in case my boss moves on for whatever reason. So we can help people identify that situation where in effect you're very dependent on one or a few people, and our planning tool will help you think how to expand beyond that. And then there's the stale boardroom, which is that situation where you probably had someone a couple of years ago who was quite supportive. You've moved roles, maybe there was a maternity leave in between, you've come back and actually you've slightly let things slip, so that your sponsors, the unlockers that you're in touch with, are sort of people from the past, and they don't really know what you're doing now. So that's a stale boardroom, and again, once revealed, it's quite easy then to start thinking, how do I address this? So 3 things to go away with. One is the cards, to start using these as a kind of way of thinking about how to ask and what help you can offer other people. One is to follow us on Twitter @myboardroom if you are interested in kind of applying this in a very sort of job-related way to specific challenges and seeing how we do that. And the third thing is to go online and try out our online tool, which is you can reach at my.personalboardroom.com. And you'll need a registration code, which we set up one just for Cisco, which is more together. So there's a limited number of uses of that tool that we've been able to agree. So very much encourage you to make the most of it. And as you do it, this hopefully will become something that goes with you, not just, as I said, as a sort of one-off diagnostic, but a way to start thinking on a much more proactive basis about your network going forward.